they're more expensive. If you decide you want to play a different deck at some point, there's a reasonable chance that you're going to want Force of Will and Wasteland in that deck. So it's fine to have them early.
We've got a countertop here, the Miracle build.
So blue-white Miracles.
Joe Lossett here versus Perfect Storm.
Interesting. So after watching blue-white Delver versus green-white aggro in the finals of Standard, I set forth a mandate that we would not watch any green-white Maverick or Rug Delver today, but apparently that's been ignored. Not for this round, though. We have only seen a pair of Maverick decks, I believe, and one of them was just the handshake.
Yeah, I mean, well, that happens sometimes. You have these matches that can end in a huge flurry. Just like, and you're dead.
Yep. Looks like Joe is mulliganing here. Shuffling. So while
Joe Lossett, we saw yesterday, win in round 1 with a 4-color pod. He did not make our top 8, but Joe, he has had some success at the Star City Games circuit before.
Yeah.
I believe 2 top 8s and 1 top 16 in the past.
He made the finals of Denver last June with Cephalid Breakfast in Legacy. So I believe he lost to Tom Ma, actually, who was playing Hive Mind. So that was a fun match to cover. I was there with Patrick Chapin in the booth. Patrick Chapin, local Denver native, as of late. Stopped by yesterday. Haven't seen him yet today. Not sure if he's going to stop by, but he mentioned the possibility. Joe Lossett, mulligan to 5 on the play. Leads with an island. Says go. John Siadak with a polluted delta.
For those of you who are just joining us, this is the very beginning of round 6 of 8 here at the Star City Games Open Series in Denver.
Glacial Fortress for Joe Lossett. Now, looking at Joe's list, it is blue-white Miracles, but it is not the same sort of list like that Reed Duke was playing a few weeks ago in DC. Getting Gitaxian probed here. We see Jace the Mind Sculptor, Plains, Island Plains, that's a Tundra, and Brainstorm. Reed Duke has kind of a blue-white Miracle Tax deck that he's been working on, and he top 8'd in DC with it, and that's the list that I've been playing around with.
Land tax is so awesome.
Yeah, no land tax here. Some interesting choices. A main deck Portent, a main deck Moat, a main deck Cunning Wish for Joe Lossett. So there's a Lotus Petal for John. There's that Portent I mentioned.
Love that card.
It
That is
like old Ponder, basically, right? It's very similar to Ponder.
It's a slow trip.
Yeah.
And slow trip is the name that kind of got created after the fast trips were printed. That'd be, you have to wait until your upkeep to get that card.
Well, the beginning of the next turn's upkeep.
Yes, the next turn's upkeep.
So if Joe casts it on his turn, for example, he draws a card during John's upkeep.
Yes.
So it's a very weird Ponder, but so while you have to wait for the card, you have the option of targeting your opponent.
One of the things that's interesting is that he has this card Portent, but why? Well, he can set up a Miracle with it so easily, and a Ponder can't do that. The Portent means during the next turn, you get your first draw.
Yeah.
So a Terminus right off of the Portent.
Yep. It is a sorcery, just like Ponder. He says stop, upkeep, I get to draw for Portent. And he draws and says okay. Now, notably, if Joe decides he wants to use Portent to target his opponent, the opponent doesn't get to draw the card.
Yeah,
Joe
he gets
does.
to draw.
Yeah. So it's just look at the top 3 cards of target player's library, then put them back in any order, or you may have that player shuffle his or her library.
You know, I've definitely done that to the opponent, but not very often.
It's like a very strange fate seal. There's a brainstorm from Joe Lossett. In response to an Inquisition of Kozilek from John.
Doing a little bit of protection.
Siadak. I'm surely butchering that name, so I apologize to John in advance.
Shows a hand of Jace. The
And
coast
3
is clear
lands,
if John
yeah.
wants to go for it.
So, Inquisition unable to hit anything, but I think if John has the tools to go off here, he's fine with a whiff on the Inquisition. That is a promo Cabal Therapy, is that right?
Oh, wow. Goodbye, Jace.
It's a Previan, yeah, it's from Graveborn, okay.
And a go. Misty go.
Brainstorm from Joe. There's a Swords to Plowshares, there's a Force of Will in his hand. See another Tundra, or at least another land. It may not be a Tundra. I assumed the white border was Tundra, but he plays with white bordered basics as well, so.
See, that's not an ugly white bordered basic, though.
I agree. Something about the older lands don't seem, aren't as unappealing with the white border. Maybe that's just because we're old school. And
No, that's not it. Like I said, the card stock is different.
Oh, you're talking about the card stock still, okay.
Yeah, and the art is actually fine.
It's kind of boring, but I think to me it's a nostalgia thing. So anyway, plays another island. I'm sorry, he fetched an island. Plays a fetch land here after just a draw go from John. And John has a Gataxian Probe, so let's see what's going on in Joe's hand. Now after a couple of turns have passed. So we've got Force of Will, Terminus, and Snapcaster Mage. So right now, Joe with very little as far as action, but he does have the Force of Will, which he can hard cast to protect himself or cast for free with the Snapcaster. Joe can also Snapcaster Brainstorm if he feels the need to kind of resculpt his hand. Got a Ponder from John. And we're going to just see Snapcaster. What's happening here? Snapcaster and...
Is that a Brainstorm?
I believe it was a Brainstorm,
Yep.
yeah.
And he's got the Brain Ancestral Recall there because of that Flooded Strand.
All right, Brainstorm finishes resolving there for Joe. And now John's Ponder resolves. And Ponder looks to have found... I thought I saw an LED there, a land and something else. Could have been 2 lands and an LED. Didn't quite get a good look. I could be wrong, could just be all 3 lands. He's doing a great job of hiding them from us.
Yes.
Right off screen. So whatever it was, he kept. And there was an Underground Sea. Joe Loss is going to crack his fetch land at the end of John's turn.
Tundra. And Joe Lossett had a handful of land not so long ago. And now, who knows? He's had 2 brainstorms that have hit, and both of them with shuffles. So his hand could be entirely, radically different. In for 2 with the Snapcaster Mage. John Siadak's Storm deck here. Actually, I think in a tiny little bit of trouble.
Well, we're going to see a counterbalance. There it is.
Oh, that's scary.
Joe says go after resolving counterbalance. And a Lion's Eye Diamond. Joe deciding what exactly he wants to do about that. If he wants to do a blind flip now, if there's something else he can do about it, because right now that counterbalance is topless.
I mean, if it were me, I would just actually do the naked flip, even if it means that you are giving information to your opponent about whether it's safe for other spells.
Shoebox pointing out that there are some rituals and burning wishes in John's hand.
We gonna see a brainstorm in response to this? Yeah, I guess so.
All right, what is Joe able to find here with the brainstorm? Can he counter the Lion's Eye Diamond? All right, brainstorm finishes resolving, and he flips and sees Caracas. That counters the Lion's Eye Diamond, and John now knows what's on top. Unless Joe has access to another brainstorm effect, he may be able to resolve something. But no, he passes the turn back to Joe. Joe draws the Caracas. Attacks with Snapcaster Mage.
The clock, though slow, is ticking on.
The Snapcaster clock. Jace the Mind Sculptor for Joe Lossett.
Better than all. I'm gonna say it for Patrick since he's not here.
Yeah. And
Brainstorm.
he resolves. Brainstorm yet again. Can we find a Sensei's top for that counterbalance, or does he even need it at this point with a Jace? Obviously, counterbalance a little less effective when your brainstorms are sorcery speed. Alright, so puts a couple cards back, plays a Polluted Delta, passes the turn. I'm sorry, not Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand. Onslaught Fetch.
Yes.
I remember when those first came out and our local shop had them priced at $3 each, and I was like, lands are always good. Maybe I should buy as many of these as I can. And I did. That was a good thing.
Let's start it off with the ritual.
Of course, they had only opened a couple of boxes, so I think I ended up with maybe 5 or 6 fetch lands. Not quite a ton, but... And I'm pretty sure none of them were the blue ones, which of course are probably the more expensive ones. All right, Joe Lossett here with a potential opportunity to counter Dark Ritual. Now he knows the top of his library after resolving Brainstorm, after Jace's Brainstorm ability resolves on his turn. So he knows that Dark Ritual will not be countered by the counterbalance. And now we've got a Cabal Ritual. We apparently, this is what the speculation is as far as John's hand. 2 Cabal Ritual, 1 Dark Ritual, 2 Burning Wish, 1 Tendrils, 1 Infernal Tutor. Now he has just cast a Dark Ritual, so that is no longer there. And there is one of the Cabal Rituals. What's that? Oh, he had 2 Dark Rits, so that's 1. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood you. Apparently there's not a 2-drop on the top of Joe's deck either. So... Joe's going to see if he can't set up maybe a blind flip here, it looks like. He's going to crack a fetch, grab a Tundra. Cut me to a 2-drop, shuffle me to a 2-drop, whatever. Leave a 2-drop on top so I can counter your ritual, please. Pretty please. And blind flip shows Moat. Moat would counter a Jace.
Well, Moat will counter at some point later on the 4s in the deck. There are some 4s. Past in Flames is a 4. Tendrils of Agony is a 4.
Very good point.
In the sideboard, Empty the Warrens is a 4.
All right. So
actually, holy...
There's a lot of 4s in there. A lot more 4s than we were thinking about.
I will say this. John Siadak, if he doesn't realize it, he cannot win if a 4 is on top.
Wow. Now we see Infernal Tutor there. Is that right? Storm copies actually aren't cast. They're put on the stack.
Oh, is it? That's
so the
sad.
copies wouldn't be counted, but the original could be.
Are you sure? Boo.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Boo. Okay, judges. Darn you. Okay, well,
So
I guess
Infernal
he can still
Tutor,
get the storm going, so my bad.
Infernal Tutor cast there, and didn't catch the... Was there a reveal there? Because he's not Hellbent, right? It finds another Dark Ritual. Okay.
Right.
Or at least, is that still on the stack since it's on the table? Was he just revealing that Dark Ritual, or did he actually tutor for it? I didn't see him actually tutor, that's why. I think that's on the stack. They paused the match, yeah. It was,
Okay, there's some small confusion about what's going on.
yeah, we
We're gonna
definitely
wait and find
saw
out.
some, Joe Lossett stops. I saw Infernal Tutor come down, Joe Lossett with his hand out, stop for a sec. I paused to look down at the deck list and discuss the Storm copies with you guys, as we were just mentioning. And we see a Dark Ritual on the table. I also saw a Tendrils of Agony on the table for a split second, so I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe John meant to find another Dark Ritual, accidentally put down a Tendrils of Agony. There's the head judge. Gonna take a look. We're going to find out what's happening. But for those of you who may be just joining us, we're in round 6 of 8 of the StarCityGames.com Legacy Open here in Denver, Colorado. I'm Joey Pasco, joined in the booth by Adrian Sullivan.
Hello.
And Joe Lossett versus John Siadak. Miracles versus Storm. And we're in game 1 here. A little bit of confusion on the table. And we're going to try to find out exactly what happened. I'm not sure. It looks like Infernal Tutor has resolved. So, and then it's not a Hellbent version, so he is finding a Dark Ritual. Okay, that's what I thought happened. He tried to reveal Dark Ritual, apparently put down a Tendrils of Agony, quickly picked it back up, said I meant to do Dark Ritual. I don't know if that was what the pause was about, but that is what I assumed happened there.
I think Joe Lossett is not long for this world.
No, I don't know what's in his hand, but he is having a lot of trouble dealing with anything that John's doing. He's blind flipping on the counterbalance. There's a Dark Ritual. We already know that, well, we don't know what's on the top of Joe's deck. He does, but apparently it's not a 1 or a 2. So, that was what the pause was about, was the accidental Tendrils. We've seen John resolve not only... Oh wait, we saw the blind flip. I'm sorry, we do know what's on the top of Joe's deck. It was the Moat. He had originally not countered the 1 or the 2. and then he fetched. So he shuffled, got a blind flip. It was Moat. John resolved an additional ritual in addition to the Infernal Tutor. Now, a Tendrils of Agony is on the stack. And
unfortunately, I was believing that all of those Tendrils would be countered, but apparently it is the Storm copies are put onto the stack.
Yeah, not cast.
Okay, what?
So what was the Storm count there?
With the Tendrils then? We need to get a clarification right.
There were 7 copies, so that puts Joe to 3. Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. The 7 include the original, or it's actually 7 copies plus the original, so 8. He did 5. Okay, so there were 7 total, including the original, which was countered. Joe Lossett finds a Divining Top.
That sounds rough for John.
Yeah. Has an Entreat the Angels, I believe, in hand. Let me take a look real quick.
Right.
How many he plays main? It is 2 copies main, and I believe one of those is in his hand. Jace the Mind Sculptor brainstorming here for Joe.
And now the whole goal is just to bury John under your Jace.
I'm sorry, that wasn't a brainstorm. That was a top activation.
Okay.
John just didn't do anything for his turn, and I assumed it was still Joe's. So now we're seeing a brainstorm.
Yep.
From Jace. See another counterbalance there. We know he has Moat in hand. He's putting that back.
I think that's a counterbalance on top of it. I'm not sure though.
He's got a counterbalance still in his hand. I think he put a Swords to Plowshares
Swords on top. Stop all the ones. No more rituals.
Yeah, no more rituals there. Not of the dark variety. The Cabal variety, however.
Entreat. Oh boy. Going for the kill here.
Yeah, so this is... did he pass the turn to John?
Yeah.
Must have, because obviously he had drawn cards during his own turn.
And John packs it up.
Yeah, maybe that was just a...
end of turn, perhaps?
Yeah, end of John's turn thing. Pass the turn to John, Entreat during John's turn. And Joe Lossett takes that game with a Miracle to Entreat the Angels off the top, set up by Sensei's Divining Top, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Brainstorm, and even Portent chipped in a little bit of help.
Even Portent.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the first time I've seen Portent played in, gosh, like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I think I've seen it in lists before, just usually as a one-of. And only, I think, recently, since Miracles have been printed, with in the decks, in Legacy, that I've been trying to say, hey, can I capitalize on Miracles? There were people brewing with Bonfires.
Right.
In Legacy, trying to see if they could work that out. But I think Entreat has proven to be the clear best game-winning Miracle in Legacy. At least at the moment. Terminus, though, probably the best Miracle in Legacy. I'd say that. I think it doesn't win the game, but it's much more defensive, puts you in a position to win the game with something else. Obviously, Jace the Mind Sculptor just goes hand in hand with it, as does Sensei's Divining Top, and of course that brings a lot of counterbalance.
I just find the fact that Portent is being played again awesome. I think that's really, really great. The depth of the card pool in Legacy makes for such an interesting element, You're just like, wow, here's this card that I had written off as just dead, and it still has life in it.
So let's take a look at the sideboards here. You want to look at the Storm sideboard?
Absolutely.
And I'll look at the Miracle sideboard.
I think we're going to see the question of all of the Burning Wish targets in the sideboard here for John. Those are going to stay there because there are none of these that it's a slow enough matchup, he's going to want to burn for them. So what that means is the actual cards in his sideboard that he might consider are 1 Chain of Vapor. I mean, I'm not saying you should play these, by the way. These are the only ones worth thinking about bringing in. 1 Chain of Vapor, 3 Tormod's Crypt, 4 Dread of Night. Dread of Night does almost nothing to the Angels, so that's not going to happen. Tormod's Crypt, maybe, but that's kind of weak because it takes you away from being as much of a Storm deck. And Chain of Vapor, I don't think it does much. So I think that John is not going to sideboard a single card.
Very interesting. Now, what kind of removal does he have over there? Because I got this sideboard. Stay away.
Oh, okay. Sure. Removal.
Adrian trying to steal it from me.
Removal, Pyroclasm.
Okay. I guess
it.
that's something, but
That's it.
You don't think he brings that in, do you?
Well, it's more useful for him to have it in his sideboard to tutor for.
Okay. He may need to do that because Joe Lossett has access to 3 Meddling Mages.
Oh, wow.
So Meddling Mage resolved on one of John's combo pieces, or even like something like as
What
far
about
as
Burning Wish?
yeah,
Meddling
or
Mage on Burning Wish.
On Burning Wish would stop John from being able to access any of his sideboard. Meddling Mage, a huge. I think that's a huge upgrade for Joe from some of these removal spells that he has, such as the Swords to Plowshares. He also has an additional counter spell, just straight up counter spell, and a Spell Snare. So there's 5 cards to bring in. He's got access to Surgical Extraction, 2 copies. Could be something he might want to do to rid the deck of miracles. So a Spell Snare, a counter spell, 3 Meddling Mages, maybe 2 Surgical Extractions. What do you think?
Looking at it, definitely Meddling Mage, definitely Counterspell, definitely Spell Snare.
Those are the top 5 that I'm sure about.
And after that, I think you only bring in Surgical and/or Relic if you've got cards that are kind of weak anyway.
Right. I'm with you on that. Actually, that sounds great.
Now he's got 3 swords, 4 Terminus. He of course has to deal with the potential for a Empty the Warrens to stop things. So I think he's going to leave in the 1 Moat, just because it can answer all of the empties forever, and then get rid of the rest of it. Maybe leave in 1
or 2
Terminus,
yeah.
1 Terminus maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's my plan. Cut the swords, cut 2 Terminus.
That's 6 cards, right?
That's
5 cards.
It's 5 cards, right? And that's it. So he can just have the Spell Snare, the Counter Spell, and the 3 Meddling Mage. Now let's see if Joe made the right play as far as which Meddling Mage he chose to play. We may find out. We don't know. He may not even have brought them in, but I think he did. So we're going to see Brainstorm, Spell Snare, Spell Pierce, Entreat the Angels. It looks like Misty Rainforest, Glacial Fortress, and an Island to start for Joe Lossett off of John's Gitaxian Probe. So Chapin said yesterday the reason he showed up was he saw the Grixis signal displayed in the clouds because Austin Yost playing Grixis, and apparently that's why he's not here today, because we've not yet seen Grixis. There's a Cabal Therapy from John, and I imagine he hit.
That's funny.
Let's see, what did he name if it resolved? Named Spell Snare. Takes that away. All right. Joe draws for the turn. Going to play Island and say go here? Yeah.
Now John here with Storm, it's very possible he could just win. This is a deck that can do it.
It says land go. Joe draws for the turn. And a Misty Rainforest.
Yep.
No surprises so far. Those are cards we knew were in his hand.
I think we're going to see one of the rare end-of-turn Brainstorms that is correct from Joe at the end of this turn.
There's a Ponder from John on his turn.
I see a Cabal Therapy and a Cabal Ritual and a couple other cards that don't seem great.
There's a Brainstorm, an Infernal Tutor, and a Lion's Eye Diamond in John's hand. Brainstorm, Infernal Tutor, Lion's Eye Diamond. Yep. Pretty positive that middle card's Infernal Tutor. And Lotus Petal, looks like. Cabal Ritual. And what was the other card? Did you think?
I thought I saw a Cabal Ritual, and I thought I saw a land.
Okay, Lotus Petal was the other one that I saw. So he appears to have kept, draws, it looks like the Ritual, and passes back to Joe.
End of turn Brainstorm.
As you mentioned. And there it is. Chris Rush Brainstorm. Original Brainstorm.
That's my favorite Brainstorm.
Yeah, I like the Dieter Litzy Brainstorm from Mercadian Masks. I prefer the
See,
artwork.
I mostly prefer old.
Yeah. Is it just a nostalgia thing?
I don't know. One thing that Dan Bach told me once that I think is really real is that at times your card choices, your card arts can be a tell. You know, if you play a certain kind of card that is like some random card, but you've got an old art for it, and it's not a great art, it's actually usually a sign that that person's been playing a long time.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I hadn't thought about it, but I mean,
Or
I
you
don't
just
think it
hipster,
usually...
you just like the old school stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, if it's not like a great art, like, it's...
Yeah.
Take, for example, a basic land from, like, Revised.
Right.
That is not generally a card that if you're going for fetishism, you'd probably go for Unlimited. You'd probably go for Beta if you have the money.
So, Joe, at the end of turn, brainstorms, shuffles away using his fetch land, draws his fresh
Assembles
card for the turn,
Countertop.
and assembles Countertop.
Yeah.
So you see Counterbalance, Sensei's Dividing Top, Soul Bond. There they are, friends forever.
Friends. Well, you know, sometimes they're not friends forever.
Yeah, well, best friends. Sometimes they break up,
Yeah.
but they always get back together.
And I think the
tend
thing
to
here,
get back
Joe
together.
is just going to draw a card blind. Make that top be on top.
Yeah, why not? Just counter the brainstorm.
Yeah, counter the brainstorm, and then also counter any rituals that are the dark variety.
Yeah, leaving a 1 on top is not the worst thing in the world for Joe. And now we know that John has a Cabal Ritual, and then Lotus Petal, and a Lion's Eye Diamond in hand. So 3 cards that aren't countered by that. Actually, and an Infernal Tutor. So all 4 of the cards in John's hand are not countered by the top on top of Joe's deck. There's Lion's Eye Diamond. There's Lotus Petal. John just completely emptying his hand here. Now, I don't know what he drew this turn. Was it the... There's a Cabal Ritual. And we're going to see Infernal Tutor for whatever he wants.
What would he want? 1, 2, 3, 4. Burning Wish 5. And then Empty the Warrens 6. Empty for 7 copies, 14
Looks like
goblins.
Yeah, could be good. And we already know that Joe has a top on top, so it's not like he's going to just hit into a Terminus right there. Now he could set up a Terminus, potentially.
Oh, devastation. Force of will to stop that plan.
And yeah,
and John's like, that's
so what
it.
happened is that Infernal Tutor was still in the stack, right? And John was using the Lion's Eye Diamond there to, you know, quote unquote, discard his hand, which there was no cards in his hand because his last card was the Infernal Tutor on the stack. So Joe says, all right, after you sacrifice your Lion's Eye Diamond for mana, I'm going to counter your tutor.
Yep.
And now you have a bunch of mana in your pool and no cards in hand, and John knows, yeah, that's it. And
That's
that's
wrote.
how it works, I think, with some of these combo decks, especially Storm. You counter the right card. Force of Will on a Lotus Petal sometimes is just enough to win the game. In this case, Force of Will on an Infernal Tutor, a little more impressive, but actually, yeah.
I actually thought that